Yeah. Okay, guys. So welcome back to the third day on this webinar series. So just a quick recap. Yesterday we were discussing things on what is mean by this Neuer classification. Different types of data that we generally see in data sets, like for example, nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. So I have given a clear distinction between what is interval data and ratio data. So interval data is basically which doesn't have a strict zero, but the data is actually evenly placed with respect to the intervals. And ratio data is something which is having a strict zero. So that's a basic classification. And we have also seen like what is the importance of mean, median, variance, and standard deviation, and what is the importance of a normal distribution. Okay, and then we have seen what is covariance, like how can we correlate two variables when I want to compare like whether two variables are there, let's say like sales and months. So how the sales are actually increasing depending on the month. So if I want to even correlate like number of customers and temperature, that also I can do. So basically comparing two variables like X and Y, how can we compare them? Okay, how one is varying with respect to the other. That's what exactly covariance does. So covariance is basically a decimal number that will give you a decimal number. But if you want to normalize it and then you want to put it under a scale like -1 to +1, you can go ahead and do correlation. So correlation is basically nothing but covariance divided by the um, standard deviation of both the X and Y variables. So that will give you a value something like 0.8. So this will show you that, okay, this is having a positive correlation, and because it's 0.8, you can say that it is highly correlated. That means when one is increasing, the other is also increasing almost at the same scale. Okay. So we have seen some other examples like this, and we have also seen like what is a regression problem, right? So fitting a line through the data, so such that I can extend that particular line, and for a new value of X, I can always predict what is the value of Y. So this is what we have seen, and we have taken some session on NumPy. We have seen some codes on NumPy. So that's where we have stopped yesterday. So today, let's just quickly start and go ahead and do our continuation of the Jupyter Notebook. So today what we are going to see is like we are going to see how to plot data. Okay. So for that, we'll be using one package of Python, which is called as matplotlib. Okay. So all this we have seen yesterday. So I'm going to right now start matplotlib directly. Okay. So one thing I can say is like this matplotlib, whatever you are seeing right now, is basically an extension of something called as a pyplot. Okay. So there is something called as Python plots. So matplotlib is basically an extension of pyplot. Okay. So why do you need visualization? Okay. What is the importance of visualization first of all? Okay. So when you look at data sets, the data sets are not small. They might have thousands and thousands of rows. Okay. And they might have like many columns, like ranging from even 5 to 6 columns to like they can have nearly 100 columns. So you have when you look at huge data sets, it is highly difficult for us to understand what the data is trying to convey, or it is highly difficult for us to see what kind of patterns the data is actually exhibiting. So one way to do that is like you can quickly plot and see what you can infer from the data. So plotting and the visualization is like always important in data science and machine learning, because that will give you some good insights immediately, so that you will get some idea, and based on the visualization that you can infer something, and based on your inferences you will know how to handle the data better. So visualization is like one of the important and fundamental steps in data science. So for that reason, we'll go for some plotting in Python. So there are many plotting tools. Matplotlib is one of the famous packages in Python. So apart from Matplotlib, we have also something called as Seaborn. Okay, we have also something called as Seaborn. Seaborn is basically an extension of Matplotlib. It's much more advanced version. The only good thing is Seaborn has some good color maps. So your visualization will look much more prettier and good. So Seaborn is one of the advanced packages comparatively to Matplotlib. But yeah, for this particular series that we are seeing right now, I felt that, okay, matplotlib is much more better and enough for a beginner to start with some plotting. If we need an extra session on Seaborn, yes, we can definitely take it up. Maybe after the series ends, I can do a session on the Seaborn separately. But for this particular series and agenda, yeah, matplotlib is more than sufficient for a beginner to learn how to do some basic plots. Okay, so let's just quickly jump into plotting. Okay, so how do you do plotting here is like you have to import the matplotlib first of all. So I'm importing matplotlib, and pyplot is one of the classes in the matplotlib. Like I said, pyplot is a Python plotting tool. So matplotlib is basically an extension of that. So as PLT, so we are just aliasing it. And then I'll tell you what is the advantage of this particular line here. I'll tell you, I'll just come to that. So what are we trying to do? So any plot needs two data, right? I need to have an X data and I need to have a Y data. So I'm just defining two lists here. So basic list. And then what do I have to do? So I have to do like plt.plot. Plot is a function which will take few parameters. So the first two parameters will be obviously the data that we want to plot. So basically I have to plot X and Y. Okay. And the third parameter will tell me like what is the type of marker that we are trying to use here. So whether we want to use some kind of a star here, or whether we want to use some kind of a dash, or whether you want to put some maybe a dotted one, maybe a cap, symbols and other stuff and all. So R basically indicates the color that we are trying to put here. And once you're done with the plotting alone is not just sufficient. I need to have this particular label also here. So for that, I'm using the plot X label. What is the X label and what is the Y label? So once everything is done, once your plotting part is done, we need to show it. Okay, we need to show it in the execution. So we'll say pld.show. Okay. So, but one thing is that when we are running this kind of a code inside a Jupyter notebook, okay, if you're doing this as a part of a Python file, then it's absolutely fine. You can still go ahead and you can do it. Okay. But when you are running it in a Jupyter notebook and you want the output to be displayed right here, that means after I execute this particular cell, I want the output of the graph to be displayed right here. I need to put this particular statement. Okay. So this statement says that whatever matplotlib, whatever we are trying to execute, please put it inline. Inline in the sense like the moment I execute this cell, the graph or the output of that particular code will be shown immediately. Okay. So that is the reason we are putting this particular line. So this will tell the Jupyter notebook that you display the output right here. Okay. So let's go ahead and run this. So the moment I run, you can see that, okay, this is the graph that got generated. So you can play around with this. Okay. There are so many parameters again. When you are plotting, there can be multiple attributes that a plot function can take. And there are so many attributes that you can actually work out. So let's say I want to have a different color. Let's say I want to have a black color, but this time I don't want a star, but I want a line chart. So I can just go ahead and I can do this. Okay. So I think, yeah, B is for blue. Okay. I think X is having some other parameter. Okay. So if I want to have a line chart, I can put this dash. Okay. And if I want something like another color, I can still go ahead and I can run. Okay. So if I want a different marker, let's say I want to mark like let's say a cap. Okay, I can still go ahead and I can do the cap. Okay. So like that, you can do many things. If you want to put, you can put a plus, so it will put a plus symbol there. If you want to have a cross symbol, I think you can put a X symbol there and it will put a cross. So like that, there are so many options which you can play around. Okay. Why am I showing this? Because see, it is not always the same case that you'll be showing only a few markers in a graph. You might be showing markers of different types, right? Because depending on the data. For example, you're trying to show some kind of sales on one particular part. You want to show the income on another particular part. So if you want to do that, you need to use different kinds of markers and different colors. So that's the reason I'm showing this. Okay. Now coming to the next example. Okay. So here I have just, it's just the same that we have done earlier, but the only thing that I've changed here is like I've shown what is the importance of axis. So guys, can we take take up the what if the data is CSV, what is the way to import the data? We'll just come to that. Vinuta is asking me a question like, what if the data is in some XLSX format or CSV format? What is the way to import a data file? Is there any cheat sheet against the codes and markers and colors available for Python? Yes, absolutely, it is available. You can directly go to the Matplotlib website itself. You can get a cheat sheet there. Like for example, you can just search. So hope you are able to see my screen, right? So there are cheat sheets are available from the data camp and so many other stuff. They'll provide you a good cheat sheet, so you can just download and keep it ready. Because like I said, these packages are having too many functions and too many attributes. You don't remember everything. So depending on your requirement when you're developing an application, you can always keep it handy and then you can code it, right? So yeah, and for the question like, can we import the data from an XLSX file? Yes, we are going to do that today. In this session, we are going to do that. Okay, I'll just show you. Let's keep the questions to the end. I think that will not break my flow also. Okay, so yeah. So coming back to my presentation. Okay, so this example will basically show the axis. Okay, so how to define the axis. So that's what we try to do here. Okay, so if I say 0, 6 and 0 to 20, so this basically tells that my x-axis is from 0 to 6 and my y-axis is from 0 to 20. So if you want to have your own defined axis, you can still do it. Okay, so coming to the next one. Okay, you can see in most of the research papers, when we study some research papers and the people will publish some kind of results, you can see that they will be publishing multiple graphs like this, one on top of the other, or maybe in a grid. Okay, in a 2x2 grid, they'll put some 4 graphs for a comparison, because it is easy for a reader to understand what kind of analysis you have done. So Python will allow us to do this. Matplotlib will allow us to do a creation of subplots. Okay, so that's what we are going to see in this particular example. In this example, what I've done is I've taken three parameters. So we already know what is an np.arange and np.arange. So it is basically generating numbers between 1 to 100 in step size of 2. And again, y is also 1 to 100 in step size of 2. Z is actually 100 to 200 in step size of 2. Okay, so what I have done here is like, this particular code will allow us to create a subplot. Okay, this will allow us to create a subplot. So what are the parameters of this particular subplot? I would like to convey here is that this first 2 parameters, 2 and 1, this indicates like what is the grid that you want to create. So here right now what we have done is we have created a 2x1 grid. So 2 rows and 1 column. Okay, so it's basically creating a 2x1 grid, and we are telling that in that 2x1 grid, this is the first graph. Okay, so this is the first graph. So what is the first graph? First graph is basically plotting between x and y with red color cross marks. So that's what we have done right here. Okay, so again I'm creating another subplot, and that subplot I'm saying that in the same 2x1 grid, this is the second graph. Okay, hope you got the idea. So this is the second graph. So second graph is between x and z, and this time it is blue cap markers, triangles. Okay, so that's the second plot that we got here. So if you want to change the grid, for example, like I just want to put it in a single row. Okay, so I want to let's say I want to put it as a 1x2 grid. That means a single row and 2 columns. So I'll just make it 2, and here I'll make it as 1 and 2. Okay, so if I run this right now, you can see that the images are coming side by side. So basically this is 1 row and 2 columns. Okay, so similarly I can create even a 2x2 grid also. Okay, I can create a 2x2 grid. So please understand, if I create a 2x2 grid, so you will know that it is actually creating 4 sections. Okay, but we have given only 2 graphs right now. Let's say if I want to give more, what I can do is I'm just copy pasting the same data here. So this is going to be my, in the 2x2 grid, this is going to be my third graph. Okay, so let's say this is just a red marker, red triangles, or let's say cyan. Okay, and let's call it as third, right? So run it. Okay, so you can see that now in the 2x2 grid, 1, 2 and 3 and 4, we have created 3 graphs. Okay, so this is how, when you are trying to compare some features and you want to plot and you want to put it in a research paper or something, you can always create a subplot and show it in a simple graph side by side, so that this is much more user friendly, and for the reader also it is easy to compare the results. Okay, so that is the importance of the subplots. Okay, now we'll go a little more into a different graph, which is called as a scatter plot. Okay, this scatter plot is like very important. Scatter plot is all about dots. Okay, I can just create some dots, or for that matter even X marks also, that's also fine. But why do you need a scatter plot? So like I said yesterday, when we are trying to find a correlation, okay, we want to see whether the data is actually widely spread or is it following a certain pattern. Okay, so yesterday we have seen, right, for example, in our scenario, I have shown you one example here. You can see the points here where, you know, few of them are like, okay, they are almost like following a straight line. But if you look at this particular center image, which has no correlation, which is 0, you can see that the points are like widely dispersed. That means they're not following any kind of a pattern. Okay, so scatter plots are like very important when you are trying to go for linear regression. Okay, when you are trying to apply linear regression, you need to first find out whether is there a possibility that you can apply linear regression or not. Because if the data is completely scattered, like it is shown here, okay, there is no point in applying linear regression, because your linear regression will definitely fail. Okay, so scatter plots will allow you to understand whether you can apply linear regression, and it will also tell you, like, is there a particular pattern where, you know, you can fit a line or you can fit a curve such that you can do regression. Okay, so that is the importance of scatter plot. So how do we do that? What I did here is, like, I quickly generated some random points. So yesterday we have seen the importance of random function. So this is the reason I have taken those topics earlier, so that you will understand it right now when I'm explaining how to do this scatter plot. So what I did here is, like, I have taken capital N is equals to 500. So I'm just basically generating X of 500 points, Y of 500 points. So totally there are 500 points in this particular graph. Okay, so X will generate some random number, Y also will generate some random number. Okay, now what is this area? I'll just come to that. But please understand, what is the area? Area is nothing but whatever point is being generated, I'm just multiplying it with some pi into 3. Okay, it's a pi value. Okay, then what is this colors? I'm just generating again a random number. Okay, why are we doing that? I'll just come to that. Okay, and again I created 3 points here, A and B. Okay, A and B, right? And then this is the important statement. Okay, this particular thing is actually the important statement. So I've given the complete comments out there, so it's easy for you to guys to understand. So again, plt dot scatter. So we are trying to put a scatter plot here right now, and first 2 parameters are obviously the data that I want to pass, which is X and Y. So I passed it. Okay, then S, this S is equals to area, indicates what will be the radius of each and every point. Okay, what will be the diameter of each and every point, right? And what is the C? C is equals to colors, represents what kind of color map I have to give to each and every point. Okay, and the next parameter alpha, alpha is equals to 1, indicates the opacity or transparency of that particular point. Okay, so these are few parameters that you need to understand here. Now you can ask me a question like, why the C is equals to colors is assigned here. So basically, please understand what we are trying to do here is, like, see, if I want all the points to be a single color, for example, like I can do this. Okay, right, let's say I'm doing something like this. Okay, I'm just doing red, and let's run it. So you can see that all the points are having a single color right now. Okay, please understand here that earlier this particular statement used to work. Like, for example, I want to pick colors like red, blue, green, and pink and randomly assign to these particular points. But right now, this particular thing is not working from the latest version of the NumPys. Okay, so that's why I just commented it out. So what you can do if you want to give different colors two different points. So that's the reason I have written this random function. So when I write this random function, what will happen is like, it will try to give different colors to each and every point. Okay, that's what we are trying to do. This is one way. Okay, there are multiple ways to give colors to the points. For example, like I've shown you here, you can always give a number like this, 0, 0, 0. So this is basically RGB colors. Okay, so within the range of 0 to 255, you can mention some numbers here, and 0, 0, 0 is basically for the black. So if I give and run like this, so you can see that all the points are actually black. Okay, so if I want to give any another value, like for example 255, then yeah, it's not 255. Okay, oh sorry, it's just one. Oh yeah, it's not 255, it's basically binary. Okay, so if I give 1 here, it'll give you another color. So like that you can change. Okay, you can just change between some value between 0.0 and 1. So it's basically a binary one. It either takes 0 and 1 and points between 0 and 1. So you can come up with different colors here. But yeah, if you want to come up with different colors for each and every point, you can go for a random function, or another way is to do a color map, which I'm not discussing right now because we don't need it. Okay, but people, if you are interested, you can look at the color map. Okay, so yeah, so what we have done is we have given random colors, and because there are 500 points, I'm generating 500 different colors. Okay, so that's what I have done. So when I run it, you can see different colors. And what are these three black dots is, it came from this particular code. Okay, so what I've done is like, I've created three random points, and I've given the color as black, and S, that means the area is 100. So I made it a little more bigger. Okay, why I am showing you this is basically like when we go for clustering, when we go for k-means clustering or something, we need to find and mark the centroids of the clusters. So the points in the data, points in that particular cluster can take any color, but the centroids should be like highlighted. So you can highlight the centroids like this. So like I have shown you. So if you want to reduce or increase the size of that particular thing, you can still do it. See, you can increase the size, and if you want it to be more bigger, yes, you can still do it. So you can, the points keep bigger. And because it's a random function, randomly it is picking 3 points. Okay, and similarly I can also look at the alpha. Alpha is like the opacity. So if I make it as 0.5, you can see that in the graph the other points transparency is becoming 0.5 right now. Okay, so okay, so okay guys, so there is a chance that the meeting will be dropped in another 10 minutes. If it is dropping, please rejoin the call. All right, so I hope you got a good idea on like how to do a scatter plot. And yeah, so this is basically this is what we mean by scatter plot. So another thing that you can do actually is like, okay, instead of this area, I can also generate the area as random. So if I do that, see, it will be something like this. Okay, each and every point, I just make it the alpha as 1. Yeah, so let's run it. So you can see that each and every point has taken a different radius now. Okay, because I'm just giving a random number here, so it's generating a random radius every time. And you can see that there are 3 centroids here, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so I hope this has given you a good idea on like how to generate a scatter plot. And like I said, the scatter plots are like very important. When you're trying to go for a regression, you need to, first thing that you need to do is put a scatter plot, because that will give you like what is the pattern of the data. Based on the pattern, then maybe you will decide like whether regression is a good idea or not. Okay, so coming to the next one, it's a bar chart. So again, I have taken 2 variables here. Okay, x and y and x and y, to x2, y2. So I'm creating 2 bars. First bar is this one with x and y data, and second bar is with the x2 and y2 data. So I can define these kinds of parameters. For example, like I can put an alignment, center or right or left, and color depending on color. If I don't mention any color, it will directly go for just blue color. It's a default one. If I want to mention the color, I can go for the color and then I can mention. Then again the alignment. And these labels are like important when you want to display a legend. Okay, I hope everybody knows what I mean by legend. Legend is this particular thing. Okay, what color represents what. Okay, so these labels are important when you want to put a legend. So if you are trying to put a legend, you have to give a label for each of the bar chart that you are trying to plot. So the first one is actually the income and the second one is actually the expenses. So once you put the title, you can put a title to the bar graph and what is X label and what is Y label. Once you do that, if you want to put a legend, you can still put a legend provided that you have mentioned the label here. Okay, so running this will generate a graph something like this and with the legend here. Okay, right? And right now I don't want to discuss about this particular box plot. Let's come to that later. And this is very, very important when we do some checking on some outlier data and all. So we'll come to that. I'll explain you this once it is required. Okay, so I hope that this small session on matplotlib has given you good idea on like how to at least generate some scatter plots and then bar plots and put some markers in different colors. So I think this should give you a good idea. And not just this, yeah, we can also do pie charts and other stuff and all. But yeah, I would like you guys to take up that job and then see like what else you can do in matplotlib. Okay, so that's all with respect to the matplotlib. So we'll just quickly disconnect and then reconnect back to this call again.